Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's Rivko. We are playing some Zelda Randomizer today. It's been a while. Had a friend mention interest in Zelda Randomizer. Realized I hadn't done a video in a while. Was gonna go through and find a good starting spot if you wanted to take a look at it. And instead, I decided to go through and just play a fresh run. Oop. So this is Zelda Randomizer. This is what's called an open seed. Okay. Good. Getting some bombs here. So Zelda Randomizer is a link to the past, except the item locations are completely randomized. And by randomized, we mean there is a pool created of all of the items and locations that are key items. All the treasure chests in the game, all of the items that are given as quest rewards from NPCs, all of the overworld locations that are like heart pieces and medallions. Ooh, check library quick. So the game basically becomes this giant logic puzzle. Everything gets mixed up, and the game assigns everything to a location, but it will never hide an item behind or behind what it is required to open. So a key can't be behind the locked door. So the first thing I did was go and grab... Ooh, hammer. First thing I did was go and grab bombs. The reason we're doing that is because a lot of the early items require you to have bombs. Second thing we're going to do is get more bombs. The reason we're doing this is just to make sure that we've got everything out of the way. I want to be able to get everything in this area. Those bushes that I went to at the beginning, guaranteed bomb drops. And this little hut, guaranteed bomb drops. We like guarantees. Because everything else is random. Pots like this are one of the few things that are not randomized in some way. Drops from enemies are randomized, but they're not randomized like fully. You can't get a sword from a guard. But the item pools for guards are different than a standard game, so you might be able to get like magic from them when you normally couldn't. Or fairies. So, ooh, mitt. So we've got the hammer and the mitt. We have full Dark World access at this point, or most of Dark World access, which is actually kind of terrifying because that means that there's a lot open all at once. Again, the whole point of the game is a logic puzzle. Because we have mitts and hammer, we can now knock down the pegs and pick up the rock for multiple Dark World access locations. And we have Moon Pearl, which is the third piece we needed. Magic Powder. Magic Powder is only unlocks one item. Bug bit. So those last two less good. Magic Powder can be a good safety. Because it lets you heal. Bug net is pretty much worthless. Unless you're playing swordless. Because you can use it in the Agadam fight. And it's easier to use than the hammer there. Okay. Rupees are good at the beginning. Medicine is good. That means we can check the sick kit, or the sick kit. Half magic. This is so far going pretty well. Fire rod. Well, that makes me a little nervous that we're supposed to go fight Mothula right away. Again, the logic... Because we have Dark World access and Fire Rod, that means that we can do the Skull Woods dungeon pretty much right now. I don't want to do that because I have 3 hearts, no sword. But technically, it is within the logic that we could beat it now. So I think what we're going to do, we're going to go check Lost Woods quick. Okay. Mostly okay with that. Getting a sword is good. Getting a sword early is good. I don't necessarily like the implication that it now has for me to be able to go beat dungeons. I guess we've got the hammer also, which is good. That gives us a way to beat certain bosses faster because it does the same damage as the tempered sword. Let's check the sanctuary chest quick. Okay. And we'll hop in quick and do the back end of the escape. We don't have the lantern, so we don't want to go too far here. And by that I mean we're checking these 3 chests and leaving. Mushroom. And trying to just do a little bit more in the light world before we venture into the dark world, because it sounds awful. We currently don't have the stuff we need to beat any of the light world dungeons. We can't even get in. We can't get into desert because we don't have the book, and we can't beat it because you usually need a fire source. So lamp or... No, we've got fire rod actually, so we could beat it from that perspective. And gloves. We need the bow for dungeon 1. We can open a lot of treasure chests, but we can't beat it. Since we've got access to a lot of other things, generally, you don't want to double dip into a dungeon. The goal ultimately is to beat the game as fast as possible. You do that by beating Ganon, getting the 8 crystals. The locations of the crystals are randomized, which we actually check. So Hera and Eastern are both crystals, so they will be required. We may not even need to go to desert. It's not a, or it's a pendant dungeon, so it's not required, but it could still be, could still be a requirement in a few different circumstances. And we're off to a great start. I haven't played in a while, if I hadn't mentioned that. Also, I totally just realized I forgot to grab 3 items in Kakariko. Okay, we're gonna go back and then we'll go back into Molorm Cave. Killing enemies is not a requirement. Also, I just went to Link's house instead of Sanctuary for some reason. Yeah, Tower of Hera, we don't have the lantern, so technically Death Mountain is not in logic yet. We need the lantern or the flute. We already checked that item. We haven't done the race yet, but I'm gonna do that on the way out. Forgot to stop at Bottle Vendor. Forgot to check Sick Kid. Apparently 20 rupee is the prize of the day. So if we go into Dark World, we're going to have access to Thieves Town. Yeah, I did do that one. We're going to have access to Thieves Town, which is just this area, and Blind's Dungeon. We're going to have access to... Skullwoods, which, while I don't want to go fight the boss yet, we could still... There's still a treasure chest there on the front half. And we have access to all of it. We have access to a couple cave locations in the overworld. We have access to... Let's see, we don't have flippers, so we can't do... Swamp Cave. We need bow for darkness. We still have the Palace Escape stuff. And go check Uncle. And, Uncle and the basement, Zelda's cell. We're gonna start at Race House again, and I'm gonna actually go up and do the castle stuff quick. We have like I said, we have access to a bunch of Dark World stuff, but especially since I'm feeling really out of practice right now, I'd rather have a little bit more security before we go in. Another sword. More hearts. Blue mail. Any of that would be good. I'm fine with the overworld. I mean, it happens. I need to also probably... I can probably be a little more aggressive with my magic use. I'm thinking let's do the basement. We do have access to a chunk of Palace of Darkness because of the hammer. All of Blind's Dungeon because the hammer opens one chest, or gets us access to one treasure chest. And Blind has no requirements as far as items go except for that, I believe. Doing pretty well on, or probably gonna be fine on rupees, which I suppose is also worth mentioning. So one of the items in Lost Woods came up as a 10 arrow drop. And you may ask yourself why I didn't go those up, because I didn't have full arrows. And it's because I'm going to find more arrows. It literally is not worth the time to walk across and go pick it up. When you pick it up, or when you pick up an item in a treasure chest like that, it gives you an animation. That plays for a couple seconds. It takes time to walk up there, it takes time to walk back. Same reason we save quit out instead of walking out. It's because the goal is to go fast. Oh, we do have Sahasrala's hut also. Okay, we're gonna check this cave quick, because at this point I'm feeling like Dark World is safer than Southern Shore for some reason. We'll still go take care of Southern Shore, but I want to do this quick. There's a cave over here, which is colloquially known as the Hype Cave, because in the early versions of this game, it was generally a very good location to get stuff, because it was kind of an in-between. That's a pretty good haul. Okay, I feel much, much better about everything in my life. And I think that's all we need right there for now. So once we get Death Mountain access, we now have Hookshot, which is great. We're gonna go... let's go max out our hearts quick. We're gonna go do Southern Shore. Save quit out. Back to Moldorm Cave where I died. Ooh, lag. Too many enemies and projectiles on screen. I suppose that as I get shot in the back of the head with a rock, also worth mentioning, you don't start with a shield. The sword and shield are separate in this. Oh, come on. Quake could be needed for Turtle Rock or for Misery Mire. The pendants required for those, or medallions required for those, are randomized. I suppose it's worth mentioning the pendants that you get for beating, that you normally get for beating World 1, 2, and 3, or like in the vanilla game, do almost nothing. The green one gives you an extra item from Sahasrala. The red and blue ones are only useful if the Master Sword pedestal is required. And by that I mean the Master Sword pedestal could have an item that we need. We want to avoid these crabs because they hit really hard. They are the most powerful enemy in Light World, which seems funny. Silver arrows. That was definitely worth getting, but not really important for quite a while. Silver arrows are really powerful against the bosses, however. Where do we even want to go next? I suppose it's time... Oh, no. I'm going to be indecisive. Actually, I'm going to be still decisive in the same way, just actually do it correctly. So yeah, I think we're gonna check Dark World, do some overworld checks, and blind. Possibly Skullwoods. We actually have enough to do that, especially with Half Magic and Fire Rod. Half Magic and Fire Rod, a decent pool of hearts. We could probably do okay against the Moth. I won't make any decisions on that until I actually figure out which of the dungeons are pendants and which ones are crystals. So one thing worth mentioning here, swords. Swords are what's called a progressive item. Same with gloves, same with the armor and shield items. Progressive items exist basically as one entity, so you don't necessarily get, like, when we found the Master Sword, the Master Sword wasn't in that spot. A progressive sword was, which means whichever sword we have, it'll give us the next one. C-shaped house. Okay, should be good on rupees for the rest of the game now. That gives us enough for Zora and the digging game. We could do the pegs, but we can do that when we do the blacksmith usually. We've actually got a really good pool of starting items. It's a little bit intimidating because there's a lot of different places that we can go with this. Or at least it feels like there's a lot of places we can go with this, but at the end of the day, it's actually not. There's not a whole lot of dungeons we can complete with this. Oh yeah. Let's do this quick. So that's why I checked. Blind is a pendant, but it's... Blind is one of the easier dungeons to clear, so we may still go do that. We don't want to jump down off that ledge into the southern part of Dark World because we can't get back easily. Otherwise, I would go down and do digging minigame and get the tree kid. One of the neat things with Skullwoods is you can actually skip a lot of it. If it's late in your dungeon rotation, you can basically just not do it. Look, that's not good. We're gonna skip the southern room because the southern room should have does have a key every time. Big key. The reason you can skip a lot of this dungeon is because the big key is not required. Oh, hey, we actually do need to go through the southern room because that didn't have a key. So this path is guaranteed to have a key because of the way logic works, because you can fall into it, and it locks. So that is literally always a key. Okay, we're not gonna go through that door. Let's go get the big chest item quick. So yeah, part of planning your route is making sure you're maximizing how many items you're getting. Skullwoods doesn't have a great pool of items. It has lots of keys, and it doesn't actually require a lot of the keys. It also has this weird thing because of, let's see, oh, we can do that. Where you don't need the boss key because the boss, normally part of going through a level is trying to find the boss key, which is randomized within its own dungeon. There are special modes where the keys can be outside of their own dungeons. It's called key sanity. It's neat, but it's really crazy. My menuing today is terrible. So yes, normally as you're going through dungeon, like, you still have to open all the treasure chests. Oh my god. You still have to open all the treasure chests because you have to find the key. So even if you have everything you need to beat the game, you still need to go find, like, the boss key in Ganon's Tower. Probably should have grabbed that heart. So we're not going to go get that until we know what we're getting from the boss. There's a decent chance that the map and compass are in there. Or map or compass, I should say. I waited too long, that's gonna go out. Okay, let's see how much of a bad idea this is. Note, this is probably a bad idea. We're getting a really bad spike pattern here. Okay. So we know that that last treasure chest that I didn't open is the map, because the map and the compass are always within their own level, and we've opened all the other treasure chests. Again, one of the neat things with the logic engine here, you can start figuring out what's left. Each dungeon has X number of keys, each number has X number of items, the map, the compass, the boss's big key. So we didn't find anything substantial in there, but we got a crystal. Oh, I guess we got the tempered sword. That's, I mean, it doesn't help with progression, but it is still a good item. Yeah, we're kinda... So we could do blind, but it's red pendant. We could do... I think we're just gonna go south and do the race game. Technically we can do the blacksmith, but we have to save quit out because we don't have the mirror. Since we're looking for progression, let's go over here. Oh, I don't have Titan Mitt. Never mind, I can't do blacksmith. Shovel. Nice. I mean, not nice because it's not progression, but nice in that it's a useful thing to have. Especially since I'm not playing great. Mothula is one of the fights that I like least, so I'm definitely okay with this. Tree Kid, just bombs. We're dripping with bombs at this point. What we really could use right now is the lantern or the bow. Or the flippers. What am I doing? I genuinely don't actually know where I'm going right now. Let's go do... Yeah, I think I'm gonna go do Pyramid and Catfish. Just because they're really out of the way Dark World locations. And it excuses my wandering. We don't have boots either, which is one of the things we would need for, like, King's Tomb. Mirror flute would both be nice. Which actually... Okay, we don't do swamp either, which is too bad because it's not a super hard dungeon and it's one we're kind of close by, where we have close to access to. Oh, we can turn the mushroom in when we get back to Light World also. So normally a lot of these items I would wait and do once I get the mirror so we can swap back and forth. Because there's a lot of out-of-the-way items up here. For example, the Witch's Hut is right next to Zora's Domain and Catfish. Catfish is in Dark World, the rest of it's light world. So you go in dark world, you mirror over. Does not help with progression. Well, I mean, I feel like at this point we basically have to do... We're pretty much gonna be doing one of the dungeons that's not required. Or wandering off to like one-off spots. Or starting a dungeon and hoping we get the item partway through. like Eastern. So I think for now we're gonna check the back of Sahasrara's hut. We've still got the desert cave. We have access to full clear desert, but it's not required. We have access to the first half of several dungeons. We have full clear potential for blind, which is also not required. It's kind of... just weighing out which is going to be easier to clear, or whether I just want to hope or go start into Eastern Palace and see if they've got the bow. Let's do desert. Granted, desert doesn't have a huge pool of items, but it does have another overworld location right near it. We can always choose to duck out if it's looking like it's going to be the map, or if the boss is going to have the map or the compass. It's only a few checks, but should be good. Decent chance that we'll find something. And again, we need flute, bow, lantern. Flute would give us access to Misery Mire. It would also give us access to Death Mountain. Lantern would also give us access to Death Mountain. Those are the two big ones right now. Death Mountain access with where we're at. We don't have Titansmith, so we don't have access to all of East Death Mountain. Well, no, we could still get there. If we had the mirror. Either way, with the hookshot, Death Mountain has like a dozen treasure chests on the overworld. It's really good. So the fact that we got the book, a lot of times you can kind of read the progression of the game as you get used to it. No pun intended. That's actually not a great item, but... So yeah, since we got the book at a spot we did, it feels like that there's a good chance that it's something like this. Oh crap, I wasn't even thinking about boots. You can technically need boots required. Let's see if we do. So we can't actually do desert because we don't have boots. But we can partial clear. And by that I mean I think that might be the only item we can actually get. Let's go get the cane just so we've got it. Oh, and the boss. We could technically go do the boss, but I don't feel like it's worth dipping that far. I need to invest in another controller. This one's starting to wear out a little. So I'm dumb and forgot about the boots. Yeah, I guess let's go do blind. It's the one thing we can actually clear. At this point, I'm feeling fairly confident in saying that Eastern and Blind are the two choices we have. And I'm not sure if Eastern is actually a better choice. We also don't have the lamp, so technically clearing at Eastern is out of logic, because there are 2 dark rooms, but I can do them. Those are the 2 dark rooms I actually know how to do without lantern. So it'd be out of logic, because you would need the lantern in order to go through those rooms. But it is something that I could just do just to get it done. I feel like I'm just kind of wandering at this point. One of the downsides I mentioned with some of these... Oh my gosh. One of the downsides with some of the... when you get lots of items right off the bat is you eventually just hit a wall. And unfortunately, it usually means that there's lots of opportunities, but not a set path. One of the other modes is called Standard Mode. This is open. Standard Mode, instead of starting... See? There's a path. We're still going to go ahead and go through just in case, because I always feel really dumb if I duck out early and miss something. We may not have to clear the full thing, though. Blind's not a super long dungeon. So Standard Mode means that you start off with the normal opening. You see Zelda, there's rain, you have to go save Zelda and go through the escape to Sanctuary. There's a bunch of treasure chests along that path. And then you do your normal... once you're cleared with that, then you can still do Kakariko, Southern Shore, Lost Woods, like we did. It gives you the lantern effect just for escape. So you can actually clear that out. And normally, that's my preferred way to go. You're guaranteed to get a sword from your uncle still. You get to go through, you get all those treasure chests leading up to. You know, this is probably actually dumb to keep going on blind, but whatever. I've been making so many mistakes in this run that I'm not actually super concerned about my time at this point. If I play well for the rest of the game, I could still have an okay time, is about where I'm at. But I've had so many, like, exits and stuff that or double backs, because I forget stuff, that this is not going well, as far as playtime goes. So Blind Dungeon's really linear. It's one of the reasons that I like it and don't mind clearing it. It's not one where you have to go looking for things. You very much just go through here. You follow the set path. It is exactly the same path every time, and you can do the whole thing every time. I need a key for that. Okay, so I lied. Technically, treasure chests keys can be locked within themselves. In this case, there's a treasure chest in the basement there, but it requires the big key and a big key and a small key to get to. Currently, oh, never mind. The small key could be at the boss. But the small key could also just be... Oh, crap. Gardeners like to spring to action. So, that small key is behind the door. And the reason it can be there is because you don't need it. So the one time where you don't necessarily need, or where the keys can be locked behind its own door, is if they're not required. So that gave us access to flute. We're going to go get it activated, and then go to Death Mountain immediately. Death Mountain is, like I said, we want to take the most efficient path, which is why I should have ducked out instead of full clearing blind. Granted, there still could have been items there. There were still items there. I mean, they just weren't good. It was 10 arrows and like a heart piece or something. And we have a duck. So I'm gonna pop over here real quick. Because it is real quick, and because I know I'll forget otherwise. It was not really good, but it could have been. We're gonna wait on Zora until we get flippers, unless we get into a corner. So we don't have the old man yet. We don't have the mirror. There are, what, 1-2 items up here that we can check. And then we'll run across to the actual good part. We do need Titan's Mint to get to Dark World there, but yeah. So bombs, let's pop in here and double check it. Rupee, not worth it. So far, so bad. Technically, we could go through this and do Spike Cave. We can always do that later. Actually, we can do that on our way out. Assuming we don't find Titan Mint. So this is Drop Cave. It's called Drop Cave because to get to the treasure chest, you drop down. Flippers. We have access to Swamp Palace, Zora, Ice Palace. Titan's Mint. We have access to Dark World on Death Mountain, which is 2 more caves of awesome. Now we have a slight dilemma, though. Namely, do we want to do Death Mountain now, or do we want to come back? I think we're going to come back. And the reason I say that, despite the progression, is we don't have the mirror. So whatever we do, we're going to have to double back. Literally every option we have to double back. So that's just bombs. We can't get through. So even without the mirror, you can actually get to the dungeon this way. I hate that. I hate that animation so much. I'm not sure if they fixed that bug. There was previously a bug where you could not find useful items on these pendants because, or on the pedestals. Basically they were I guess always considered out of logic because what's the best way to put it? Basically there's a bunch of other modes. Like I started talking about standard mode. One of the modes is called swordless, which is literally just you don't get a sword. And you can't use those pedestals normally without a sword. So for some reason that left it glitched out with the logic engine. And I think they just kind of left it, last I knew. We can't do the basement yet because we don't have the key. We'll see if we need to. Oh my god, are you serious? just get soft locked. Yeah, I think we just got soft locked. Unless we can hit one of the switches. Which I don't think we can easily. Just right there? Okay. Let's try not sucking this time. So the hint tiles do actually work. They reference the game's logic. So the hint tiles do actually give us hits. I haven't run into a lot of them yet, so it hasn't come up. And at least one of them I just totally forgot, and it would have required backtracking. Okay. Let's do Moldworm. This is one of my least favorite bosses. But we've got Tempered Sword, which means we should be able to kill him in just a couple hits. Of course. Oh, we don't have the map, so the basement item's the map. There we go. So this is where we get to do the annoying choice. We can either go back and get a bunch of items, or we can get one in the Spike Cave. But if we don't, the Spike Cave is going to be a really obnoxious second trip. So I think we're going to do this first. We're going to do the Spiral Cave, and then that'll let us out on the bottom. We can come back. Doing this area without boots is really annoying. Yeah, basically the route we're taking, this will let us back out by the portal to Dark World. And that'll let us get access to the Hookshot Cave and a few other things. I think it's like 14 treasure chests or something like that. Basically one of the highest density item areas in the game. It's one of those things that if you're playing vanilla, which I don't think I've explained, if vanilla would refer to the game, the original game, as it stands. There's a slight glitch in the original game, 1.0 Japanese version only, which is what this uses, that lets you hookshot through blocks as you push them. We only used it a couple times, but it's a neat trick. And it's one of the few glitches that I can actually do. Mirror. Okay, so we're pretty close to good to go at this point. Technically, we could do Turtle Rock while we're up here. I think. No, we don't have Cane of Samaria. Also, my count was way off. But I digress. We got the mirror. It's something. Yeah, we can do Spike Cave, since we got the mirror. So, the reason I did that, took a bunch of damage instead of using magic the whole way, is because when you save quit out, it refills your health, it does not refill your magic. Okay. So, Death Mountain's cleared, except Turtle Rock. Got a good variety of items. I feel like this is going to be a good spot to take a break, so we can split the video. Hopefully you're still enjoying. If you are, please give me a like and subscribe. Check out the other content on my channel. If you have any questions or suggestions, please leave them in the comments. And as always, have a good one.